Hi, I'm Ryan Payne with Garage Gurus, and today I have a tech tip for you on testing diesel exhaust fluid. All right, I got several things here on the table that we're going to go through. We're going to start over here on my right with our container of DEF fluid. So a little background information there. If you look on the side of the box, it will tell you 32.5% urea. That's our active chemical inside of this diesel exhaust fluid that is used to help reduce NOx. So what happens here is that DEF fluid is injected into our SCR catalyst. It's got to be heated up to about 480 degrees inside of it. That thing acts like a frying pan in there, and we'll actually try to take NOx and it will convert that into CO2 and H2O. The problem we run into is if that percentage is not correct or the fluid is contaminated for any reason, that won't happen. We can actually contaminate the SCR itself, and we get comebacks and things like that. So we'll talk about how to test this to begin with, because the big problem is it does have a shelf life. There's about 10 manufacturers of it, and if you dig through all the information, they all tend to agree on about a year of shelf life under normal circumstances. It can make it up to 2 years. You can find some more stringent storage information about temperature levels and things like that. But one of the biggest detriments to this fluid is UV. So if you see it stored in the front of some sort of part store or something like that, be very wary of it, because the UV will kill it. That's why it comes in some sort of box to actually protect this fluid. All right. So how do we test it? Kind of the industry standard right now is a refractometer. That's the way to do it. You will flip this little lid open here, put a couple of drops on my lens. You'll hold this up to a light source, and there's actually a graduated scale that you can see, and it will give you that percentage. And once again, you're looking for that 32.5%. There are a couple other ways to go about it. You've got a tool like this, maybe not quite as accurate, but it will get the job done. Got a nice long hose here, and we can actually run this down into the fluid fill. I can extend this hose if I need to. I will take a sample out of it, and then I will actually read my floats here, kind of like we're testing an old school battery. So let's hop over here to the truck and we'll get our first sample. All right, so I've got my sample out of my 2017 F250 back here. And you can see on there that I've got the white disc at the top is obviously floating. The green disc is floating as well. And per the instructions on this particular tool, it will tell you that with two discs floating, it's right at that 32.5%. So I would say this DEF fluid in this truck is actually good. Now, one of the things I'm going to do here, because I have this sample already, is I'm actually going to use the sample out of that tank for another test here. And this is another really good test that uses these little litmus strips here. And what it does is actually test for any sort of contamination within that diesel exhaust fluid, whether it be some sort of petroleum or anything other than diesel exhaust fluid. This will actually change colors. So it comes with this, this tool here. You can actually clip a little alligator clip. You can clip that paper on the end of it and run it down in the tank and pull it out. That works really well on your bigger diesel exhaust fluid systems. On this pickup truck, it doesn't work so much because I got a nice long fill tube. But what I'll do is I'm just going to use the sample here that I took out of the tank with this tool, and I'm just going to put some of this diesel exhaust fluid right onto it. And you see it kind of just runs off of it. I'll kind of dip it in it there a little bit, and I'll hold it up, and you see that thing, it does not change color at all. The fluid actually kind of beads up off of it. It doesn't absorb into it at all. So that tells me there's no sort of contamination in this diesel exhaust fluid. I would do this if I had a truck came in, it's setting SCR codes. It's one of the first things you want to do is verify the quality and quantity of the DEF fluid itself. So I did that test. I know that fluid is good. I went ahead and tested it for petroleum, and it shows no contamination in there either. So the next thing I want to do, so you can actually see a result of this, I'm going to do two examples here. I did this, I got this meter. This is probably a little bit overkill. Most shops are not going to have this tool, but I got it so you can see it through the camera. it's hard to get a camera lens down the end of my refractometer. So this is just a digital refractometer. So we're going to measure the sample that I just showed was good with my little float tool, but we'll measure it digitally with the refractometer here digitally, and you'll get to see a result. So what I'm going to do here, I just got to open it up. We'll turn it on here. It is on, and I'm going to take and I'll just use the same sample I took, and I'm going to put a little bit in there. I'm going to close the lid up, all right, and then I'm going to hit read. And you see this one is reading about 31.1%, which we usually give an error of plus or minus 2%. So just like our little float tool showed us, refractometer reading is showing that this diesel exhaust fluid is good as well. Now what I want to do next is I'm going to go over one of the things you probably know already about diesel exhaust fluid. It's pretty nasty stuff. Once it dries up, it crystallizes, and it can be corrosive as well. So let me go get this tool cleaned up real quick, and then I've actually got a sample of some diesel exhaust fluid that I've had in this jar over here, and it's been sitting outside for about 2 weeks, and we'll test it and see how much damage we've done to the fluid just by letting the UV rays at it. So let me go clean this up real quick. All right, so I got my tool cleaned up, just nice and rinsed out with some warm water. Gets rid of that fluid that we had in there before. And let's go ahead and test the fluid that I've had sitting outside for a while. So I'm just going to take a sample here with my pipette. I'll take a little bit out and put it into my refractometer. And we'll take a reading here on the machine. And you see where this one actually is reading 17.4%. So just in a few weeks of sitting outside, being exposed to UV, it's damaged this DEF fluid, and it will actually not perform how it's supposed to. And this, if we were to actually put this fluid into a vehicle, we'd end up with SCR codes. If you enjoyed today's tech tip, make sure you hit that thumbs up button for us. And for more tech tips like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button. For more information, go to garagegurus.tech.